Horrible. So those are the two battles that they are the best known for. But they would attack, conquer, all over. They chased each other all over England. For 10 years they did this. And in the beginning, she made some stupid mistakes. She tried to be very bossy. She tried to be very, I'm the queen. My father said this. So she tried to push her weight around. She shouldn't have done that. She should have probably worked through. She had a brother named Robert who wasn't. Now Robert couldn't become the king because he was not from the wife's relationship. Only marriage relationships could lead to nobility, lead to the throne. If he had this child and this was by a girlfriend, he could not become the king. The church wouldn't recognize it, the people wouldn't recognize it. They considered him illegitimate. But Robert was really a good brother to her. He really helped her all along through the stuff. So he was the cool-headed one while she was like, ah! So anyways, 10 years, back and forth. Well, one of the times, this is so cool, they were at...
In a snowstorm?
Let me think of the name of the castle. Because I have a picture of it on mine. It's a beautiful castle. The castle is, okay, Alex, what's the name of the castle? I've told you about it. It's there. We can go and do an archaeological study of it if we'd like. Arundel.
Yeah? Alright, when I get ready.
Okay, so she comes, she's at Arundel, and Stephen has got her surrounded. And for whatever reason, they always fought in the wintertime. I don't know why they did this. So she's surrounded in her little castle, and of course they had all the walls, so Stephen can't get in. But he just waits her out, and he's just in here, and they're running out of food, and they're running out of stuff to cut up and make for firewood. And people are beginning to worry that they're going to have to eat their dogs and their horses and whatnot. And so she gets a brilliant idea. While all of her brothers, Robert, and the rest of them are all, oh, we're going to die, what are we going to do? She and her handmaid are in there taking all the sheets off all the beds, and she stitches them all together. And she makes these shrouds that she and her brother and her two most trusted generals can cover themselves up in. And they go all the way up into the bell tower of the church, which is on the exterior wall of the castle, and in the middle of a blinding snowstorm. They let out a rope, they wrap themselves in these shrouds, and she's probably in her 30s by now, lets herself way down, 100 feet down this rope, and she's hidden in this white shroud so that none of Stephen's men catches them. They stay in the shroud, and they go through the woods, walking in the shroud in the snowstorm, and one of Stephen's men comes galloping on the horse, and he sees movement in the woods, and he stops, and he watches, and he sees, and they catch each other quick. Oh, don't look. And they stand nice and still, wrapped up in their sheets. And he's looking, and he's looking, and he's looking like this. And then somebody sneezed. And the man went, he thought it's a ghost. He thought there were 4 ghosts in the woods. And he got his horse, and he took off with his horse to get away from the 4 ghosts. And so they were saved because of her ingenious way. Now, she realizes eventually she's probably not going to get the queen position. It's just Stephen makes a lot of stupid mistakes. He jails probably one of his strongest barons, but the baron probably should have been killed instead of jailed because he was a mean guy. And the big deal was, see, they had kids. Stephen and Matilda had Eustace, Matilda, or Maud, and our bad guy had Henry II. You know which one won, didn't you? Which one won? Henry II. That's right. So, they're fighting now to get their sons to be the king. Because they know it's so much turmoil. The people hate both of them now. They have plundered, destroyed, ravaged most of the cities in Europe. And the people don't care. They don't care. Who cares anymore? And even all the relatives are like, if you win, then, yeah, I might be able to keep my castle. But if he wins, he's going to take the castle away because I supported you, and vice versa. And so because of this whole thing of losing your lands and your castles and everything, nobody in the family knew who to support. because it was up for grabs as to who was going to win. This battle went on for 10 years. They were killing and fighting each other. So finally what ends up happening is Henry, believe it or not, Henry is given to Stephen to raise as the king. Because Eustace, from the time he was teeny, his mother noticed something odd about that kid. Something odd about that kid. And she wondered, could he really rule properly as a king? He would be mean to animals. When he was about 9 or 10, he was betrothed to marry this young girl, and she was a princess also, and he treated her horribly, and his mother wondered. He would make a deplorable king. If he was ever king, he would be deplorable, because he would be cruel to the people. And that bothered both of them. So when he got a little older, he mysteriously died, probably a good thing, and that left him with no other boys. So he agreed to take our ancestor, Henry II, and raise him up to be the king. And indeed he was.
Oh, is that how Henry the First got
And
in?
this is Henry II.
Henry
And
the
this
Second.
is the family line that is called Plantagenet. That's their last names, Plantagenet. And that's the line that we come down from, through William the Conqueror, through Henry I, down through Maud and the bad guy, and then down through Henry II, and then one day I'll tell you this story here. But wasn't she a smart cookie? History says if she had not figured a way of getting out of that castle, she wouldn't have. He would have let her starve to death. Right there. So she kept our line alive, because many years later, now this is way back in the 11th century, so many years later then I'll have to tell you what happens on this line, because boy, a lot of this happens again. Remember how it was supposed to come down the first, but it didn't? The
Came down
kingship.
to the last.
And I'll have to tell you another story later when Mom doesn't need you, how it didn't happen because of death. It happened because of, I'm going to be king no matter what. And he took and stole the kingship from who later would be our another descendant.
Is that William the Third?
Nope, that's back on Richard's line. It gets way down, goes all the Henrys, and then it gets down where John of Gaunt stole the crown away from our guy. When Richard could not have any children, it went to should have gone to the next son, Lionel, and we come down Lionel's line.
Oh, that's
but
right.
it was stolen away from him by his youngest brother, Joan of Gaunt. But we'll talk about that story later.